Welcome back to the Quest for Success podcast. Thanks for tuning in again. Jam's a bit under the weather this weekend, so like usual, I'm flying solo because the show must go on. And we're joined by another special guest, Mr. Storm Drury. Storm, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
So for those who don't know Storm and I went to uni together. Storm studied photovoltaic engineering.
Yep.
So I studied renewable engineering, and so we had a lot of crossovers through our classes. And, you know, just like how I interviewed Mike as an aspirational person that I look up to, Storm is another aspiration. So I wanted to get him on the potty and talk through some things because, you know, there's a lot of life experiences that we all have, and it's cool to share. And so the other day I was trying to think about how we first met, and I remember it so vividly. I was sitting with some of our other uni friends, and there was, you know, some talk about this guy, Storm. And so I did what anyone normal would do, did a bit of a Facebook stalk.
Yeah.
And saw some videos of Storm singing and playing guitar.
Okay.
And I was like, man, like, good on this guy for having the balls to, you know, post videos of him singing on Facebook. And then I opened them and listened to them, and I was like, wow, this guy's actually so good. And I noticed the guitar that he was playing as well, because we have the same guitar. And so I remember the first event, we had like a little like picnic or something. And I came over and introduced myself to you. I'm pretty sure we just talked about how we had the same guitar. And then, I don't know, from there we had lots of classes together, and then did a lot of camping as well. I think that's probably what brought us together in the end.
I think it was actually because most of our classes were during COVID. Right. So I think a lot of the time it was just I think you and I were some of the only people that had our cameras on.
Yeah, true.
During the classes. So you were one of the only people that actually saw the face of. And then we would talk a lot because of that. But yeah, going back to that grass patch where we first met, I probably did the same thing because I remember talking to you, and I mentioned I'd obviously looked you up beforehand just on LinkedIn because I saw your accolades, you know, and it's like you had a little pallet startup.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy's next level, just with some of the stuff that you'd already done, you know. So it was cool. It was cool that we met there, and it was cool that we actually got the chance to meet in person as well before COVID started, because I think it was term 3 of 2019, so right at the end of the year, and then the following next 2 years were all online. So it was good that we had that first introduction, you know.
And I think that made us closer as well, like everything being online.
Yeah.
Like we'd built that friendship beforehand.
Yeah.
And then because there was like no social connections, like uni was pretty much whoever you knew before COVID was the people that you know, stuck with and tried to get through assignments and stuff with.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah.
And then, we did a lot of outdoor stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think
when we were able to, for sure. That was good. All the wild camping.
I think it was like a good break from, you know, studying hard, but then we'd go out and kind of have a bit of a detox in nature.
Yeah, switching off. Yeah, which is good.
So I know you've listened to a few of these episodes, but the goal of the podcast is to, you know, understand what success means to different people. And so I'd like to start on that, you know.
Okay. Today,
like right here, right now, what is your definition of success?
I think for me, I definitely haven't thought about this exact definition. I think for me, success would be having stability, also having, I think stability and I guess growth as well. So if I can reflect back a year ago, am I better? And if I am, then I am on the quest for success.
Ah, man. Yeah, no, I love that. It's just like, I think it's in Atomic Habits or something. It's like the goal is to be 1% better every day.
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer on a lot of the stuff I do in life is based on progress. And I think for me it's not necessarily, I don't have an end point for what I deem as successful, but am I progressing in stuff that I like to do? So I guess that would probably be a loose definition.
It's all about the journey, hey?
Yeah, all about the journey.
All about the journey. And so, I like to unwrap and, because a lot of people listening won't know who you are, your story.
Sure,
and so I like to, unwrap and go a bit deeper. And so we're recording this in the beautiful Miranda down in the Shire.
In my humble abode.
In the humble abode. And I want to talk about your early days. Where did you grow up? And, tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like, the upbringing.
Yeah, so I grew up just 10 minutes down the road from here, and I went to a primary school not far away, and then also my high school was just down the road. So yeah, growing up, this was my home. This area is my home, and it definitely still is, of course, because I live here, and I often don't like to leave the Shire as well. So I'm definitely in that Shire bubble. Childhood, it definitely had its ups and downs. I think it helped me a lot. I had a lot of learned lessons from my childhood, I think.
Yeah.
And it's helped to progress me for sure to where I am today.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's like a common theme, it's in our younger years, our formative years, that we're kind of molded to be the person that we are today. Yeah. And so like from those early years, are there any like key lessons or key traits which you think you look back on now and you think, and any values that you have as a person that you think were shaped in those early years?
Yeah. I think if I can reflect back, one of the biggest things for me is communication with those that you're close to.
Yeah.
I think it's been quite valuable to me to really have strong communication, because I've experienced the opposite of that. And I know that it can cause a lot of issues if you're not communicating properly. So I think the biggest takeaway from my childhood is learning how to be a good communicator, because I saw the alternative. And it's just, as we all know, if you don't communicate correctly, then there can be misjudgments and things taken the wrong way, and just really being clear with what you say. And then also the other thing from that is making sure if there is any conflict, trying to solve as much as you can, whether it be with a friend or a partner or even a work colleague as well. Talking it out as soon as you can, basically, because that's helped me a lot as well. There's nothing worse than me having a sort of pit of anxiety, knowing that there's some sort of conflict that I haven't resolved. And I think I sort of learned those lessons growing up as well, and I've also learned them throughout my life leading up to today. And I'm still learning. It's not perfect.
Yeah, it's a journey. We're always, as you said, 1% improving every day. We're trying to improve. And you talked on like you view communication so importantly, and it sounds like there's something in your mind that you're like thinking about. Like, is there like, why is communication so important?
I mean, for me, I think it was because where I grew up, it was sort of lower middle class, and with that comes a lot of financial stress, and then there's also some substance abuse, mental health issues, both outside of my family and then sometimes within my family as well. And with that came a lot of communication problems, and then arguments. And because I was quite young and I experienced that, I sort of just remember thinking, I don't want this. I want the opposite of what this is, and how can I do that? Maybe I could try being a better communicator. I mean, like that's how I view it in hindsight, but in the moment, that's not obviously how I thought. I just hated that idea of just people yelling at each other.
Yeah,
so.
It's such a profound like realization though, right? Because you might not have noticed it in the moment, but it's clearly something that's like stuck with you enough that now looking back, it's something that you want to change.
It's helped, for sure.
And like I think that's like a powerful thing. Experience is ultimately what shapes us, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think as well, adversity helps a lot too. So facing adversity and dealing with that adversity can help you learn lessons more, I think. So
Yeah, and it's something we talked about like last episode, where it's like hardship is truly the mechanism in which like you learn so deeply. But I want to, you've stayed here in the Shire. Has there ever been a part of you that's like, man, maybe I should venture out, see somewhere else? Or is it like everything you need is here?
Yeah. I love being close to the beach. I have a lot of friends and family here as well. I've lived in Kingsford near the university for about 9 months, but it was during COVID as well, so I didn't actually leave the house that much. But yeah, I'm not that interested in travel and seeing the world as much as how can I just want to do things that I enjoy, and something I love to do is go to Cronulla Beach and go for a run along the Esplanade and jump in the water before work. That beats going to Europe. That beats going out on a holiday. For me, anyway. Yeah.
That's so wholesome, though.
Yeah.
It's like, But do you ever think? Because I'm very much the same. Like everyone goes, oh, where do you want to travel? And like my thing is, I want to see everything there is to see in Australia before I go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you ever feel like you're maybe missing out on something, or are you so?
No. Funnily enough, I was speaking to my partner about this last night, and she made a comment that sometimes where we've gone in terms of holidays and whatnot has been sometimes underwhelming. And I kind of chuckled because I said to her, sometimes like these, how social media portrays these areas and whatnot, it's a lot of hype, and the reality is it's just like everywhere else. So you might as well, for me anyway, I know that I enjoy going to Cronulla Beach, and why try anywhere else?
Yeah, make the most of what's on your doorstep.
Yeah, I'm definitely a homebody though, for sure.
And I know, you touched on there was a little bit of, hardship for you growing up in your early years. And, I was talking to one of my other friends, Mike, and, we were talking about how grateful we were for, the fact that for us, family and our home environment was somewhere which we looked back on, so positively. And so I want to get your perspective and kind of see how, during this like tougher time for you, did you look for like belonging or like that sense of home somewhere? Like, did you need to feel like you needed to escape to somewhere else?
Yeah. So I think I was quite good at compartmentalizing growing up, for sure. Like I'd never sort of spoken to anyone about what I was experiencing up until year 12 of high school. Obviously, I had really good communication with my mum. My mum's great. But so I think her and I sort of confided in each other, and then I compartmentalized a lot. I also had some father figures as well. Like I worked in a pharmacy for about 7 years or so, and the owner of the pharmacy was a massive father figure in my life as well. So it was people like that where I definitely externally sort of sought comfort in people, and also my friends as well from high school. I had very close, and still to this day have very close friends from high school that I try and see on quite a regular basis as well. So yeah, I mean, it definitely there were definitely some good times as well in my childhood, but towards the end, as I was sort of a late teenager, things got to a point where I was also old enough where I could confide in, or just at least escape it, because I had a bit more independence as well. So yeah.
Do you look back on when you were a smaller kid and you didn't really have that independence to go out and kind of confide in other people? Like, do you feel like you were trapped? Like, how did you feel in that time?
No, I think a part of me has always known It's strange because I'm very different to my family.
Yeah.
And I think a part of me has always wanted something different to what I was experiencing. And so I guess I had something deep within me that wanted, I almost knew that this wasn't going to be my life.
And that's something that like I respect so much about you. Like I remember we were camping and you know, told me about like, you know, your upbringing. And I remember correct me if I'm wrong, but you were the first in your family to finish year 12.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And just, I don't know, for me that was so incredible because I feel like from my perspective, if I was in your situation, I feel like it would be the easy path would just to follow what everyone else, you know, you do what the people you idolize do. And so if, you know, everyone around you is, you know, not going to uni and is just kind of perpetuating this cycle, then it would be so easy to just fall into that. But I think, as you said, you know, you recognize that you didn't want that for yourself.
From quite a young age as well. Like, man, I was younger than 10, I think, when I just knew within me that it was going to be a bit different for me, which is good because I think a lot of that motivates me now. Like I draw on a lot of that, like childhood motivations to try and, you know, be better, I guess.
And was there any like other motivation for you, or was it just like I don't want this life for me or the people who come after me?
I think that's the deepest, like trying to think about my why and why I want to try and be better and try and progress. I think for me, what I've learned as well is progress is quite powerful, and I think I've seen that myself. So planting those seeds within myself, that knowing that I wanted to change and therefore trying to do well in school and then progressing further, like trying to do well in high school, trying to do well at university. Yeah. There were definitely years where it was not that way and I sort of lost my way and I was demotivated. But that's because I was sort of on a path where I was uncertain as to where the future was for me. So now I'm a lot more content in the path that I'm on, both career-wise and sort of outside of my career as well. And I think going back to your question, which I forget exactly what you asked, sorry.
No, it was just like, was there anything else pushing you?
No, so they're definitely the deepest motivations for me. There's some classic quotes as well that I always think of, but they sort of developed in the later years when I started listening to all these motivational videos and whatnot as well. Yeah,
was there anyone like that who was like transformative for you?
There's just a quote. I forget it's some sort of aristocrat or something. It was like, what a shame it is for a man to grow old and not know what he's truly capable of. That quote sits with me a lot because it's just a cool idea, right? Like trying to be the best version of yourself, whether it be physically or mentally. It's a cool quote that I always refer back to.
And it's something that I talked about as well. You know, like one of the key reasons why I wanted to start my startup, right, is I don't want to have that regret.
Yeah.
I heard something along like very similar lines. You know, it was just like I went and this guy started a company and he's just like, it failed in the end. But I look back on that experience, you know, only positively because I have an answer to the question, like, would that have worked? And even though the answer is no, like at least I know the answer. Like I'm not going to live in regret.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's like something super powerful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Not questioning, like not having the what ifs, you know.
Yeah.
I think David Goggins says that kind of stuff as well. The what ifs, answering those.
Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, school was clearly like, I suppose like a turning point for you, you know, and like, was it something that you enjoyed?
From primary school?
Yeah.
Yeah, primary school is great. I mean, I don't have any bad memories there. High school as well, it was fine. I had a good group of friends. Towards the end, year 12, I started to drop off a little when I had already been accepted into university, and at the time I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do, but I was accepted for engineering. And then definitely for a few years there, I was just sort of coasting with the engineering stuff. And then I would say I didn't enjoy it that much. I enjoyed the idea and the lifestyle because I was just on Centrelink, and I think there was one stage where I was just doing 3 subjects just on Centrelink, and then I was just at the beach almost every day. So I don't obviously get that anymore. So I did enjoy the lifestyle for some part. And then when I got to UNSW, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Why do you think you didn't enjoy it in that?
Because I lacked direction. I didn't actually know exactly what I wanted to pursue. So with the first degree, I had no idea. It was just a flexible entry, engineering. And then as I went through and I started Bachelor of Science instead, I also was unsure as to where that path ended and job security, etc. And then when I went to UNSW, it was a lot more different to me because I sort of went through those going back to the what ifs. I kind of went through, tried the idea of a career path, and then realized that probably isn't for me. Like for example, the Bachelor of Science, I did astrophysics and astronomy because I was really obsessed with the stars and constellations and whatnot, and just the idea of space was very cool, still is, of course, but I kind of realized that I don't think I can make a career out of it in Australia without going down the path of a PhD. Yeah. And by then I was already 4 years into studying, and I didn't want to continue on that path because I'd started losing interest in the idea, knowing that there was limited options for me. I mean, I could be wrong, but that was kind of what I thought. And how it felt. And so I did a career change again, or the idea of a career change. And I think it helped me because I was almost navigating a path for myself to try and find something that I was interested in.
And you ultimately settled on photovoltaics.
Yeah.
Was there something that you saw there which made you go, yes, this is the one. I've finally found it.
It was actually, I can pinpoint the moment. It was quite cool. By then it was my 3rd university, UNSW, and probably my 4th degree change. Yeah. And I was in one of the first year physics classes, and we had some solar panels, and they were hooked up to a multimeter, and I waved my hand and saw the voltage change, and I just thought it was absolutely fascinating.
Magic.
Yeah, it's literally like magic for me. Yeah. So from there, I knew that renewable energy and the idea of renewable technologies was something that I wanted to pursue because it was so fascinating. Just the photovoltaic effect to this day for me is just so fascinating. And yeah, that was the moment where I knew that I wanted to go down that path of renewable energy and a little bit deeper into photovoltaics.
And how did you go about like your early degrees? How did you go about like figuring out which one you were going to choose next? Like, was it kind of just going with the flow or seeing something you thought was cool?
Yeah, so because I started off with engineering just because I got accepted into it, and that was kind of just going with the flow. And then the astronomy and space was because I was interested in it at the time. As I said, I still am. And then after that, I kind of circled back into engineering because I was more interested in the idea of a bit more practical applications of science, which is what engineering is. So yeah, I kind of did a full circle back to engineering. And eventually got to solar.
And this is a bit of a backward step, but what did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually wanted to be a doctor growing up.
Wow. You ended up quite in a different field.
There was a good chunk of time when I was quite young where I was just obsessed with wanting to be a doctor in the medical field, and then it quickly changed. I kind of always wanted to be, then it changed to something I kind of envisioned myself being in a lab coat. some degree, because I was always interested in the idea of the technical side of stuff. And then I guess I am that now because I work in the lab. Yeah.
And during those times when you were kind of deciding what you wanted to do, changing degrees, like now, do you look back on that and like, how do you look back on that time?
Yeah, I mean, at the time when I was sort of navigating my way, I was definitely envious of my friends because 4 years into university, and also I had a gap year as well after high school. So some friends went straight into university and did their time, and then 4 or 5 years they were full-time engineers, and I was kind of envious at the time. But I also knew if I did that same thing, I would definitely have a lot more dissatisfaction with what I was doing with a career. So, it was definitely more so in the moments, and even sometimes now, I feel like I'm sort of on the back foot because I'm just starting to work as a full-time engineer now. But at the same time, I'm very satisfied with the work that I do. So there's the pros and cons of it.
100%. And I think, you need to look back and kind of see how far you've come as well. Yeah. And, it's so much easier said than done, right? Mm-hmm. I struggle with it as well. But, we're talking last time we caught up. We did a personal finance subject together. Yeah. And at the end of that, we had to do like a financial plan for the next, I can't remember, 5-10 years or something. And we were talking about, how you'd already, it's been what, I don't know, how long have we been out of uni? Two years or something?
2 years, yeah.
And you've already exceeded what you were expecting on your financial plan. So, I think it's important to reflect on that and go, I've done all right.
Yeah. But also a lot more to go, a lot more.
100%. As you said, it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
But it's, you could always put yourself down and say, I could be better. I could be better. But then that only kind of leads to one place where you constantly have this like self-doubt almost.
Yeah, but also I think you need it to a certain degree to help you push forward, because if you get to that point where you're like, oh, I've got everything, you're the saying that the wolf climbing the hill is always hungrier than the wolf on top of the hill. You know? So
that's true.
Keeping that pursuit of something more, I think, is something that I kind of enjoy. I think it helps me. I think, but also I've got to be careful because it can be unhealthy. I understand that.
Yeah, no. And you finished uni with like, what was it? First class honours?
Yeah, I got first class honours. Yeah.
And like, that's something for me. I was so proud of that for you because it's just like, you look back and you could have not even finished high school and then you finished university with first class honours. And I don't know, just like secondhand proudness for you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Because I think that's such a great achievement to kind of break out of the cycle and build a life that you want. And so you've ended up in what is the cutting edge of solar development, and you kind of worked your way up pretty quickly, and now you're managing a bit of a team. How has that transition been? From uni straight into a managerial position.
It's definitely been a steep learning curve for sure, and I'm still very much a young leader, and it's very interesting for sure. I think I moved quite quickly because I've been in a startup as well, and that's kind of at a time of rapid growth as well. Yeah. So I also joined at a fortunate time too. So it was like kind of I made a good choice when I decided to join. But yeah, it's definitely, it's still a steep learning curve, especially being team lead, and then also, so you've got the managing side and then also the technical side as well. So there's some challenges there with juggling, but it's challenging, but also very rewarding as well, for sure.
And, being, given the people that you're managing, I know compared to some of them, your like technically inexperienced compared to them. How do you go about that? Like managing people who are, maybe further down the line than you are.
I think it starts off with being very respectful with the experience that they have, for sure. For me, I always try and be more so of a how do I say it, working together kind of approach, because I think it would be naive of me to think that I know more than them, because it's definitely not the case. So it's very collaborative in the way that we go about our work together, for sure.
Yeah. And I suppose for people who don't know where you work, what's the quick synopsis of what SunDrive does?
So we're building copper plated solar modules in Australia. So we're trying to be more sustainable with the way that solar panels are made, and then also trying to do it locally as well. So trying to eliminate silver, which is a massive bottleneck in the solar industry, and then also making efficient and locally made Australian solar panels.
Yeah, we love that. Bringing manufacturing back to Australia. So, you've clearly got a very successful career.
No.
Well, mate, you've got to, like, for most people, like, this is a dream, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Is there, so if it's not for you, what is the dream?
I mean, it's definitely, I would say I'm definitely living a life that I was hoping for, for sure. But in terms of being successful, I think I'm also on a quest for success. I wouldn't deem myself as successful in any way. I think I've got a lot more that I want to do before I would even classify myself as a success. I think also calling yourself a success is a bit douchebag.
Of course, you're too humble to admit it. But do you know what I'm saying? Like from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
2 years out of uni, managing a team at a up and coming, thriving startup, that's pretty cool. And so, I know you're doing well in the career space, but another thing which I envy about you is you're very dedicated to your physical achievements as well. I know you did a lot of triathlons and things, but at the moment it's the Ironman training grind.
Yeah.
And you're doing insane rides and insane swims and runs. And how do you strike a balance between career and then also these other pursuits? Because they're both quite time consuming.
Yeah, for sure. Finding the balance, it definitely is a progressive thing, because right now I'm training for the half Ironman, which probably consumes about 10 to 13, 14 hours of training a week. And then I'm training for the full Ironman next year as well, which can be up to 20 hours. So, but going back, I probably started about maybe 4 or 5 hours of training each week, going back probably almost a year. And then it progressively increased over time. And so my body got used to the higher training volumes as well. Also, a lot of I think the fascinating thing with the training is you can do way more than what you think if you trim the fat with a lot of your social life and or even just sitting on the lounge watching TV because you're tired or what you think is tired.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's been great because I have a coach now as well that helps me with my training programs, and it's great seeing that even if you feel tired, it's just your mind telling you to chill out. But as a matter of fact, as soon as you start training, you can train just as well as if you're not tired. Yeah. So I think it's redefining. I always tell myself I'm creating myself a new normal. So I'm trying to evolve in terms of what I deem as a normal routine for me. And I'm kind of there now, sort of reflecting back. I used to think that training every single day was a good achievement for me, and now I've pushed it to training twice a day is a good achievement for me. So it's always just creating that new normal for yourself. So it's to the point now where I feel lazy if if I train in the morning and I have something scheduled in the night and I don't do it, I'll call myself a lazy bastard, even though I trained, 3-4 times in the last 2 days. So
it's crazy, just like constantly moving the baseline.
Yeah. Just creating the new normal is something that I think is very cool to do.
And is there an end to it?
No, at least not for the foreseeable future. I definitely want to keep pushing, for sure. Which is probably a bit worrying for my partner to hear that.
Do you think that's sustainable?
For now, yeah, for sure. Because I know what is required for the Ironman training, and I know I can do it. Yeah. Without
so
too much of a concern.
You think it's because you have that goal in mind?
Yeah, for sure. I think the big thing for me is, so I did a lot of my training for the first half Ironman by myself, and in terms of accountability, I definitely didn't have full compliance with like what my training plan had. However, now that I've got a coach, accountability to the schedule that he sets for me is a lot higher. So I think it's helped with either training with people. So I often reach out to friends and see if they want to go for a run together or go for a bike ride together or a swim. But having him set the schedule for me, I think, because that's a value I have, is integrity and accountability. So if someone sets something for you, if they set a target for you to reach, or if you set a date to hang out with someone, you be there unless there's something completely out of your control,
And I think it goes back to like having skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
It's because I feel the same. It's like a social liability. When someone else is helping you to be accountable, it's just like, oh, well, if I don't show up, then someone else is going to like think badly of me. There's that like social pressure almost.
Yeah. And just like, you don't want to let someone down as well. Yeah, exactly. For sure. So yeah, that's helped me a ton because there's been times when I've trained in the morning, I've worked all day, and I'm never working from home. It's always on site, and sometimes I'm on my feet all day and I'm wrecked, and I'm driving home and I'm just thinking, I do not want to exercise, but the schedule deems it so I have to do it. And it's just non-negotiable. I've tried to keep that, especially the last few weeks. It's just a non-negotiable thing that has to happen. Otherwise, because what ends up happening is if I don't do that and I skip it, I'll feel very guilty. And if I push it to later on in the week, I'll be very tired. So you just have to keep to the schedule. Yeah.
And so you're training for a full Ironman.
Yeah.
Is that the end goal? Like, what do you think once you get there, you'll be, or because like what I'm trying to get at is this is maybe just a constant pursuit, right? Once you hit that, you'll be wanting something else.
Yeah. It's not necessarily like Ironman in general, but for sure, Ironman is something that I've put on a pedestal for what I think is an extreme achievement in terms of physical, just a physical achievement. I've always put them on a pedestal for like, wow, these people are fit, and it'd be cool to do that. It's such an amazing feat, I think, to be able to do an Ironman, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's the half Ironman is a 1.9 kilometer swim, 90 kilometer bike ride, and then a half marathon, 21.1 kilometer run. And then the full Ironman is double everything. So 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike ride, and then a full marathon, 42.2 kilometer run.
Which, like most people, up until maybe a few years ago, the marathon was the thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think Ironman's become more popular. For sure.
Exactly. It's like you see the evolution of what people can do once it just becomes the normal. And it goes back to what you said. They're like constantly evolving baseline, right?
Yeah.
Now the marathon is just like every man and his dog does a marathon now. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, what's the next bigger thing that we can do?
Yeah. Because, people are realizing that it's possible, right? Which is fascinating to me. Something as well that helps me a lot is even back when I first started doing more endurance stuff again is, I think it was January last year. Yeah, January last year, I kind of wanted to do something like a half marathon or something like that. And then, but in my mind, I knew I could do one if I really pushed through it. But then thinking about a full marathon, that kind of scared me a little. So I put the plan in place to try and achieve a full marathon. And I did the Gold Coast Marathon last year. And then for me, I just kind of knew, I've done 2 smaller triathlons before. I'm kind of keen to step it up a notch, knowing that I've done the full marathon now. I've definitely got the bug for endurance stuff. And so that's when I started training for that. And that kind of scared me as well, because like it's definitely a longer endurance event than the marathon. And then for me now, the Ironman is the thing that I think I can't do right now.
Yeah.
So it's putting those goals in place to make it possible. And that's kind of what I love about doing this kind of stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
Because like, I remember when you started training for your marathon, that kind of kicked me into gear as well.
Yeah.
And my mum said the exact same thing. She's just like, oh, why don't you start with a half marathon?
Yeah.
But it was the exact same like thinking went through my mind. It's like, look, I've run 10, 15 kilometers. I know I could do a half, I could push myself and do a half marathon. But the full marathon, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, the feeling that you might not be able to do it.
Yeah.
And that again kind of puts liability on you. You're like, I might not be able to pull this off, but I want to pull this off. So I have to work a bit harder.
Yeah. It's so fascinating, just that goal-orientated pursuit. It's an external motivation sometimes, but just the idea of pursuing something that is seemingly unachievable and then putting the work in to make it achievable, I think it has been very valuable for me in life, because it flows over. Yeah. I'm a big believer in, that's why I like to do a lot of this stuff as well, because it flows over into other aspects of life, whether it be financial goals, relationship goals, or work goals as well. The same kind of stuff applies.
And is there anything else about these, kind of hard physical pursuits that you like really enjoy?
Yeah, definitely just finding more out about yourself, because there's moments where you're just absolutely tired. And I think as well, triathlon stuff is a very lonely sport. So you have to be very comfortable in your own mind, which I can safely say I am. And it's just fascinating for me to just have that positive head talk, to just be like, just keep going, you just keep going, keep pushing. Because there's moments where you're just absolutely exhausted and you're just, overcoming a lot of mental barriers that you thought were impossible. So, yeah.
And have you always had that positive head talk?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, always.
It's just a characteristic of you, or do you think
I've cultivated it. Yeah, I've cultivated it. But I've never had negative self-talk, which I'm also proud to say, for sure. Because it's always just positive reinforcement to myself. I mean, I'll call myself a lazy bastard if I don't do something, but I'm not like absolutely destroying myself if I miss out. I'm not going to lose sleep over. Yeah.
Is there anything else you do to like cultivate that like ability to endure hard things?
I think it's routine as well. Perseverance and routine and discipline helps a lot. So what helps me a lot is setting these sometimes ambitious goals, especially with my training, and getting it done and having full compliance with that builds me up for the next week, and I have that momentum, and that helps build that mindset, because it's like, you can do these things, you thought you couldn't, you were tired, you wanted to quit, but you persevered and you did it. So that helps. You're creating building blocks, I think.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. That it's Stephen Bartlett talks about it in his book Diary of a CEO. You have to provide evidence to yourself.
Yeah.
To change your self-belief. And so I think for me as well, doing these hard physical things, it provides that evidence to yourself. You talked about it. I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. So maybe I am capable of more than I think. Correct. And so I think that's, definitely one of the keys to improving in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a very good habit to have, just pursuing something that is seemingly uncomfortable and possibly unachievable for you, and trying, because there could have been a moment where I fell off my bike and
Yeah.
or there was a mechanical issue and I didn't achieve that goal, and it doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because you can always try again. If it's an external factor outside of your control, just you can just keep trying, keep pushing, keep trying. Yeah,
It really is the journey.
it is the journey, mate.
Yeah. I love that. So we've talked about life, career, and these hard things. What is the vision for Storm?
Oh man, it'd be good to own a property. I think that's a vision. Just having job security, financial security, and relationship security as well, which I do have now, which I'm very grateful for, both with my partner and then also with my friends as well. So just having security with all those foundational things, and also with my health as well. That is the vision for me, to have everything that, like, stereotypically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to accomplish?
Not necessarily major achievements. I'm already kind of on the pursuit of things that I'm trying to achieve. So the full Ironman for me is a big thing that I'm focused on right now. Career-wise, I just want to help Australia achieve local manufacturing. And yeah, with my relationships, with my partner and with friends, just keep on building on those and build a family eventually, or at least have a house. I think that's a big goal. That's probably an ambitious goal in Sydney, but nothing major other than that. It's just definitely progress for me is a big one. Yeah.
And given your childhood, you mentioned that you want to maybe one day start a family. Has that impacted your, like, how you view relationships, and then also just like whether you want to have kids or not?
Yeah, but also just other factors as well outside of childhood. I sometimes just in terms of where the world is going, I can sometimes have a pessimistic view. But at the same time, a friend of mine once said, there's some people out there that definitely shouldn't be having kids that are having kids, and you're probably a person that could have a kid and
have a positive impact through your
have a positive impact as well. So, I'm up and down about it as of right now. Definitely not in my near-term future for sure. It's definitely something I am okay with the idea of, but it's not something that I'm absolutely sure that, like, oh yes, I want X amount of kids. It's not in my mind's eye.
I asked this to one of our other guests, and I think it's a very profound question, and I can't remember which book I read it in, but it's just like, to have a good life, you should, maybe not to have a good life, but in planning for a good life, you should go to the end and look back. And he had this exercise in there where it's just like, you write your own eulogy.
Yeah.
And I know this is super on the spot, but like, what are the key things you'd want to be said there?
He died chasing things that he enjoyed, I guess, would be the main thing. Like, if I was to die today or tomorrow, I would want people to know, and I think they do, that I'm pursuing things that I love. Yeah. So yeah, that would be the main thing. Like, knowing that I died whilst basically doing what I love.
Yeah.
As long as I'm doing that and I can show people that. Oh, actually, the other thing for me is showing people that what you think is potentially not possible is possible. So, for example, a lot of people in my circle say, "Oh, I don't know how you are training this much," for example, and I want to show people that it's possible, because I'm just a normal person, right? I'm no different to anyone else, and just having having me as a possible example that, oh, actually he's doing it, I can do it, because I'm doing the same thing, right? I'm seeing people pursue these endurance events, and they're working full time. They're no different to me. They've got families, and so it's like, oh well, why not? You know?
Yeah. And is there anything that you regret?
Yeah, mainly financially. I just made stupid financial decisions in my early 20s that set me back a lot, I think. So like personal loans, car loans, where I just didn't have the knowledge, and I just made stupid financial decisions.
I think that's such a common thing though.
Yeah.
You know, financial literacy here especially is
for sure
so backward.
It's something that I think the school system fails us a lot, because most of my research into what it means to have financial knowledge is all research independently, except that financial course that we took, which was very valuable. But I already had done a lot of research myself. So that would be the only thing that I would regret, is just making poor financial decisions, because it set me back. Yeah.
And on the flip side, looking back, what's the thing you're most proud of?
Most proud of, I would just say getting the degree, I think, is a big one, because it took me, I think it was like 8 years because I made so many different degree changes. So having completed it and having the degree and walking up on stage, I would say, I think that would be probably one of the biggest.
Did it feel like a weight off the shoulders?
No, because it was a very dragged out process, because it was like a 6-7 month wait until we actually got the degree. So it was definitely, it wasn't some sort of 0 to 1 switch or anything. Yeah.
I love that, mate. Well, I personally think you've done an exceptional job.
Oh, thanks, man.
And so I like to link it back to the first question. I asked about what success means to you. So after we've walked through everything, do you think you are successful?
No, I think I'm on the quest, on the path for success, for the most part. I wouldn't see myself as successful. I would see myself as wanting to pursue success.
But for me, it sounds like there maybe never will be success for you.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's fine. It's like it's similar to, there's a bodybuilder called Phil Heath, and he said one time, and he quoted this from somewhere else, but it's like, you'll never be perfect, but he's going to try as hard as possible to pursue it, to try to pursue perfection. And I guess it's the same kind of thing. Like, maybe in my mind, I'll never be successful, but I want to pursue that. And, externally people say I'm successful, and that's great. But I think if you settle too much, I don't know how much I feel about that mindset of, oh, I'm successful. I think it halts progress. Yeah.
That's so interesting. But I love that, because I think, if we're to look back on this conversation, you can probably define a few key words, like this pursuit, this like never-ending pursuit, and clearly you have like an unwavering drive. Like you have to accept, compared to the average Joe, you get like a lot more done, and you're a lot more focused.
Yeah, but I've got like my own lazy devices. Like I'll sit on my phone for 2 hours, and then time will go by. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, but
yeah. So I'm definitely
no one's perfect
different.
though, right?
Correct. And I'm no different to everyone else. That's the main thing I want.
Yeah.
I want to make clear is.
Yeah, but I think the thing is you're trying.
Yeah.
A lot of us can, sit back and waste away our days, but you have a very, very clear vision of what you want.
Yeah.
You want it to be a journey. That's ultimately what you're on, a pursuit, right? As long as you're moving. That's what it kind of sounds like. You just want to keep moving towards the goal.
Yeah.
And so I think having that kind of unwavering desire to just keep on moving forward. Because some days, it's so easy to just go, nah, not
Absolutely.
today.
And I definitely do that sometimes, for sure.
And maybe that's another thing to point out.
Yeah.
No one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like even the people we hold in greatest regards, I can guarantee it, they all have their off days where it doesn't go to plan.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so it's just, but it's almost like leaving that behind, and today's a new day, and get on with it, right?
Yeah.
You've got to keep going, because otherwise you can dwell in that past.
Yeah, for sure.
And as you said, if you skip a training session, you could dwell in that and go, man, I'm so annoyed I didn't do that. Or you could just go, okay, I got to make it up. I got to keep going. Yeah.
There's two things I want to comment there. The first one was going back to the pursuit. The idea of success is the journey. Jocko Willink one time was saying that, Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill, the Greek from Greek mythology. He says his goal is to push the rock, not necessarily to get the rock to the hill. It's to actually push the rock. So irrespective of whether it falls down or not, his goal is to push the rock. And I think that's a very cool idea. Your goal is to do the thing that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, putting yourself in that hardship. I think ultimately that's what it goes back to, right? This hardship.
Just overcoming adversity is a path of growth, I think. So,
and I think like another thing, which I think you do quite well, is like in all the answers that you've had, you've clearly segmented it. You talk about your career goals, you talk about your, physical goals, and then you talk about your relationship goals. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons that you are able to find a bit of a balance between everything, is you compartmentalize the different sections of your life.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, for sure. Because I make it quite clear, especially with my partner. Like I always try my hardest to make sure that I'm being there, and if I'm not, like, because as you can probably appreciate, when I'm training lots and working lots, sometimes my time is short, or I'm quite tired after a big day, and just making sure that I'm there for her when she needs, I think, is a big thing for me as well. So that's for example, one of the relationship goals.
Yeah. And so, other than these few things that we've talked about, do you think there's any other ingredients to success, to achieve the successful life that you want?
For sure, having people around you as well, like-minded, or at least positive impacts, because a big thing for me is eliminating negative people or toxic people from my inner circle, definitely, because I think the environment that you have shapes you as well. So it's either get out of the environment or change that environment within. So
yeah, I think I've heard that from pretty much everyone we've interviewed. You are the average of the people you're around. And your environment really sets up what you produce.
Yeah, I think you are the average of the people that you're around for the most part, but also I believe what I believe within myself outweighs the people I surround myself with. And so I think in terms of the bubbles of what is the bigger impact, your self-belief and your pursuits and your journey and your ideas of success outweighs anything about the external environment. It definitely has a massive impact, because if you're around people that are telling you that you're not good enough, and just also doing drugs, drinking on the weekend, and that's their idea of a social life, you'll probably get sucked into that. But at the same time, I think the bigger part is what you believe in within yourself as well.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of it that way, but you're totally right. You need to have like your core set of beliefs and realize that they shouldn't be able to be changed by the people you're around.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's one thing why you're very good at doing these hard things, right? It's because you have that self-belief that, okay, it doesn't matter what the people around me are doing, I'm going to get this done regardless.
I truly I definitely believe that because no one else around me is doing this kind of training. I thought of it myself, and there's a lot of effort that I have to put into it. For example, going back to just the fitness goals, and I could very well be the same kind of person without all this drive from that kind of stuff if I wanted to from my external environment for the inner circle of people. But that bigger belief in me is, I want to do something that's uncomfortable, and that's not necessarily an influence from other people. That's an influence within myself. Yeah.
Well, I love that, and I truly am, very appreciative of you coming and having a chat today, because I think it's incredible to hear people's stories behind the scenes, because everyone's not really like. There's always a story behind everyone, I suppose is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And regardless of where you come from, you can always shape your future.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. That's the truth.
And so on that note, we'll wrap up. And I'm super, super grateful for the time today. And for those listening, please do us a favor and follow us at the Quest for Success Pod on Instagram, and give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And until next week, we'll catch you later.
Thank you, sir.